All right, man. Today is Thursday. It is April 13th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. Here on Zoom, I'm joined by John Rich and Tommy Smokes, where we are doing a Barstool Classic watch for the first time ever. Like I said, 2 weeks ago, I did this with Rico and Robbie Fox. We did Taxi Driver. Today, we're doing Rambo's First Blood. Naturally, I had to invite a couple masculine men on for this one. So Tommy, welcome first and foremost.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you for having me. Yeah, you got two absolute stone cold killers.
Yeah, you
I mean,
did.
John Rich, that one picture of him, he does look like a killer, but a different type of killer than Rambo.
No, exactly, Rambo. John Rich,
I,
how are we?
I think I might. You could argue I resemble Rambo, exhibit some Rambo-like features in that picture, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
um,
killer again, a killer.
yeah, I could see it. Did a little tour in Vietnam. All right, so where are you guys at first and foremost? Like, you guys had never seen this like I did. Was it on your radar? Did you want to watch it? Did you have interest? Was it like a chore, or was it like, yeah, this is one I should have watched? Where did you stand on that, Tommy?
I mean, obviously, I've known about Rambo. If this assignment didn't come across my desk, I think there's a good chance I would have went my whole life without seeing it. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't like, fuck, I gotta watch Rambo. Like I was home for the weekend, like for Easter, texted my dad, was like, hey, I gotta watch Rambo for work. And he was pumped. He was like, oh, him and his friends can quote the whole movie. So like he was like giving me quote. He was like, I gotta shut up while we watch it because otherwise he would just be quoting. He's like he knows every line. So I think he was happy that we were able to watch it. Yeah, and it was more or less what I expected.
Well, listen, that makes me. I've made a bonding moment with you and your dad, Tommy.
Yeah. He kept saying like it's over, John. He's like it's over, Johnny. Classic line. He's like he plays cards with his friends on Friday night. He was like I was telling them we're watching it tomorrow. We were going through all the lines.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
John Rich, where are you on that?
Yeah, I can't say I have ever considered watching Rambo. I don't think I maybe ever would have watched Rambo. I kind of loosely say in general, hey, like I should watch more movies that are old and classic, and Rambo kind of fits that perfectly. So I was happy to watch it, but no, I'm not typically a big I guess action movie guy. Like I
Same.
and again, and I actually kind of I don't know, we'll get into it. It was different than what I thought Rambo was.
100%. I'm with you too. I just had never really been the biggest action guy with the explosions and fighting, and I just mostly stuck to comedy, horror, and the likes of that kind of stuff. But it's one of those where it's a name you always heard, right? It's like, oh, take it easy, Rambo. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
knew you knew what you were getting into. It's like a badass. You've seen like pictures of Stallone, and you knew it's his. I think it's his biggest role besides Rocky. Safe to say.
Yeah, I will say I thought because I mean I feel like they've come out with Rambo's recently, like within the past. I just looked it up. There's one in 2019, one in '08. I remember seeing those trailers. Going into the movie, I expected it to be a war movie. Which
Yes.
I mean, like I expected it to be at war. I thought it was going to be in Vietnam or something. Like, so I was definitely a little surprised that it was just in like the woods of wherever that was, Washington or whatever. I was expecting it to be in like Vietnam.
Stunning. I agree. Same way. Were you the same way, John?
Yeah, so for some reason I knew it was in the Pacific Northwest. I'm not really sure why. I was very surprised by who he was running from. I never thought
Yeah.
a Rambo versus the fucking police, like versus like a nice little quiet town police department, him like killing cops. That surprised me. I don't know who I thought he was running from, like just like some like generic bad guys, I guess. But that was the biggest surprise to me.
A
I
hundred
assumed he
percent.
was like a prisoner of war in Vietnam, killing Vietnamese people. That's what I assumed was going in. Yeah, I did not expect him to be new, like, battling this fat like local cop.
Yeah, battling Dennehy, Brian Dennehy.
Yeah,
Like even talking it because I was teasing it out throughout the week, and I think Chief said, "Oh yeah, that's the First Blood. That's Vietnam." So like I was already tipped off. I was like, "Oh nice, we're gonna be in Vietnam, and that's who he's gonna be fighting."
Yeah.
Nope, not even close, like you said. So that was a stunner. That was a
Oh.
stunner.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was somehow sadder than Vietnam, almost.
yeah,
yeah. I will. I mean, I guess maybe like it's the historical context you got to think. But I was like, why are they giving him so much shit? Like I feel like part of me was like, all right, a small town cop, wouldn't they be like super nice to veterans, like to war veterans? I feel like they would be like super nice. So I was like kind of surprised by that, but I guess like, the context of people were against the Vietnam War or whatever, and he looked like a drifter. But yeah, I was like, these guys are assholes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like my first thing too. I was trying to figure out like this is stupid. I was trying to like figure out like what side of the political spectrum do these cops fall on? And I couldn't figure out. Like a small like hometown cops that like hate this veteran. I was
I
like, oh, are
don't.
these like hippie cops? Or are they like because I don't know, like you almost like you would almost like put him in a scenario with like I don't know, like movie like you'd maybe expect like a bunch of like racist cops to be treating somebody that way. Like I couldn't figure out. I guess I just don't know anything about like how people perceive the Vietnam War.
I,
Like I was just confused by that.
Yeah.
I don't know a ton on it either, besides what he said at the end of the movie, which makes sense that that's how some people felt. I'm sure, but my thing was I don't think the cops felt any way towards politics. At least that's the interpretation I get. I thought it was the cop
Yeah.
is just one of those genuinely like, I like to run a tight ship around here. No fucking drifters. You look like a drifter with a sleeping bag.
Yeah.
Get out of Hope, Washington. That's the interpretation I thought. There was no political motives at all from the cop.
Yeah, I guess my brain is just poisoned by thinking everybody's got some kind of like crazy political motive, and that's like the meaning of anything like that. So that's probably just me overthinking it.
I
But
could be wrong, Tommy. Which side do you think? Which side do you?
Yeah, I
agree
mean,
with?
I was kind of with John Richard first, but I was like, all right, what is the political? But I think what you said makes sense, and it's like they just whatever. At that time, it was just like this is a small town. We don't like outsiders, and this guy, I don't care what he is or what his background is, like he looks like a schlub, and I don't want schlubs like in my town.
Yeah. And so the movie sets out, and he's there to visit his friend. He finds out his friend dies, and then he walks into town. He gets kicked out, and then that's when everything kind of goes haywire. It was weird to me as well to see Dennehy play the bad cop. He plays the dad, and Tommy, but he has so many classic roles.
Blacklist.
Yes. Yeah, he's great. And so it's kind of, but it was weird. And I guess from what I've read, it was one of his like highly heralded roles. And I thought he was pretty good. Did you guys like Dennehy's role as the chief?
Yeah, he was good. And he was an asshole. He played the asshole well.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. I did have a note that I thought the acting by the cops in general was maybe a little rough at times, but I don't think it was him. I think he was good. The red-haired cop I felt like was a pretty horrible actor. That was bothering me.
Yeah, like the dopey sidekicks.
Yeah, right. There were a couple in there, but no, I think he did well.
Yeah, they did. I could see them falling into a lot. And I want to say, too, I felt like besides that opening scene, I made a note here. I don't think Rambo really talks until like 42 minutes into the movie. Did you pick up on that?
I was going to say the same thing. I mean, he has the big monologue at the end in the police station, but like then he talks a little in the beginning, but like the whole middle of the movie, it's just action, like acting from Sylvester Stallone. Like he's just like doing a lot of grunting.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's like running through a cave with a lantern or with a torch for some reason for like 20% of the movie. I wrote that down too. I thought it would have been nice if maybe he came across somebody like that would be on his side, like just like any kind of like character that he could talk to and have a little bit more dialogue with.
I wrote down cool cave in my notes, and I was thinking a lot of like how they shot that. Like, do you think that was an actual cave somewhere? Was that a set? I don't know.
Yeah,
Had to be a
probably.
set, right?
Yeah, it had to be a set, I would say, right? Because caves are low key. We talk about a situation where I will never find myself in one, but yet it is one of the scariest situations you could be in my opinion. It's a cave. Like,
Yeah, but I don't know. You could have caves that are used as like historic. I went to a cave in South Dakota once on like a little tour. It's like preserved and stuff where you could, if it's, they could use that to shoot. I don't know. Let's look it up.
no, you're right. They did shoot it in Canada. I saw it was set in Washington, so it's set upper Pacific Northwest, but they filmed it in a cave. Maybe it was a cave. Who knows? I don't really know. At that point, I know Stallone was big in doing his own stunts, like that falling down the tree. I read that he actually did that. And he hurt his back and he broke a couple ribs, and they halted filming for like 2 months because of it. So maybe it was.
he fell
Yeah,
on the tree I'm thinking of, where like he jumped off the cliff and
Yes.
onto the tree.
Yes.
What the hell? I need to see how that was set up.
Yeah. Apparently, it wasn't as high as what it appears to in the
I
movie,
can't
obviously,
imagine.
but he still did that jump. Which, I mean, he was kind of known for that, right? He got smoked in Rocky 3, I think it was, by Thunder Lips or one of the Rockies. I don't know. He got smoked. Like, he was known for doing his own stunts and like basically just getting the shit beat out of him. So, sounds like classic Stallone.
Yeah. He's
yeah.
like,
I was trying to think like, Sylvester Stallone in general. Like, what are I like we said, those were his two big roles. But like, so I guess at this time he was like, I asked him, he was like, he had a few duds in between, but I think like this maybe put him back on like the map.
Yeah.
Not
So,
that he was off the map, but I think that this was like since Rocky, he needed a hit, and this was like his big hit.
well, what I saw was it kind of appeared to me, and listen, a movie historian could correct me if I'm wrong, but it appeared to me he was kind of a one-trick pony at that point. Obviously, Rocky was huge, but of that year, it came out in '82. Rocky 3 came out in, I think, March, and this came out in October. So he had Rocky 3, obviously the classic Clubber Lang one, and then First Blood comes out, and it kind of almost reinvented him in a sense. And then he started doing a bunch of actions like Demolition Man, Cliffhanger, and whatnot. So it was pretty big because he got like rave reviews for this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he was good in it.
yeah, I was gonna say, I didn't. Do you
I
think
didn't,
if that movie came out today, he would have got rave reviews? I kind
I
of
don't know. I mean that like I wasn't like blown away by his acting in it.
I mean, he didn't talk for 42 minutes, really.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of modern days stars could do that role.
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
I guess did they giving him more credit for like action acting? For some reason, I don't really think of that as acting. Like it is acting. Like he's doing all that stuff. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he didn't talk. He has never struck me as a good actor, and I don't think Rambo really made me be like, oh wow, that was an incredible acting performance.
I also think it's
Yeah.
a thing where it's like a sign of the times, right? And that's what we talked about last time with Taxi Driver. It was like so revolutionary at the time. I think maybe in '82, this was big shit, you know?
Yeah, it is hard to think about like even like I feel like movie or music where like you think of like the Beatles and it's like you hear a Beatles song now and it's like, yeah, this is good, but it's not like the most amazing thing you've ever like it almost sounds simple, but it's like at the time nobody was making music like that. So it's like it's just hard, I guess, to I don't know, contextualize like the context of it kind of.
Yeah, I thought a lot of the stunts and a lot of the fight scenes were cool. Like one in particular was the helicopter part where that guy was shooting down on him and he's like hiding behind a tree. And you could like kind of tell like it was a set and that helicopter was like being positioned in certain ways and whatnot. It was definitely an easy watch. Like also the time length of it was perfect, being
Yeah.
90 minutes. And even if he, and what I read too, at least what Roger Ebert said, the big thing about this was Stallone had such a persona of being a badass through the Rockies or whatever that shit that was unbelievable almost became believable because it's like, all right, Stallone, he's a bad dude. So
Yeah, when he's like hanging off the cliff.
yeah,
Just that I was like that. There was a lot of moves he made where I thought, oh, I wouldn't have done that. Like when he jumps in the water, I was like, oh, I would have turned myself in. Well, I would have first of all probably just never. I would have never fought in the jail. I would have just taken my sentencing wherever it was.
if this was Tommy starring in this movie, it was over in 10 minutes. You go see your friend, you find out that he didn't make it, you hop in the cop car, and you never turn back across that
Yeah, I
bridge.
never turn back. I just try to hitchhike and I get out of there. That would have been the whole movie.
Or you go to jail and then you get put in jail and you're like out in 2 days, probably. Like he couldn't have been facing that much of a sentence, right?
I was thinking the same thing. Like, there's no way he was going to like a maximum security prison for I don't know what he walked through a fucking town. What was his crime exactly?
Yeah. I guess you could just arrest somebody for whatever back then. At one point, I think the cop threw out like you're looking at a 90-day sentence, but like
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's not
Worth
that bad. I'll tell you what, I would have rather had a 90-day sentence than the 4 days of fighting in the woods.
yeah, jeez. I know, but he loved it, man. Like I think he just
Yeah.
he-
Well, let's peel that back for a second too. Like, all right, you're saying like you weren't that impressed with him. Even though he didn't speak much, he still gave you a good idea of what he was about and what was wrong early on, right? Because they tried to shave him. and he had Vietnam flashbacks. So, like, you knew pretty early that he was a troubled guy, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought he gave off the perception of just a guy who was troubled, had been there before with his back against the wall, and was going to do whatever he could to survive. So from that aspect, you know, he looked very natural running through the woods. Like, I mean, some of those scenes, I was like, dude, how is he like so smooth? Like, you trip over one tree branch, you're dead. But he was money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was a bad acting performance. It just wasn't like the most, I don't know. I wasn't like, you know, sometimes you watch a movie and you're like, oh my God, an incredible act. I didn't walk away with that, but I liked the movie overall. Like, but it was, I expected it to be an action movie where Sylvester Stallone kicks a lot of ass, and that was more or less what it was.
Yeah. I guess for some reason I'm trained to think of good acting as like delivering like super impressive monologues and things of
What
that
she did at
nature.
the end, like the scene at the
Yeah.
end was good.
That was very good.
Yeah. Yeah, like as far as like the if you're taking away the acting and you're putting in like the story of it all, you knew the guy was he was deeply troubled, but then at the end he erupts like a volcano, like saying all his problems. He comes back for a country that he fought for, and they don't give a shit about him. So it was kind of, you know, like I said, a sign of the times back then. I'm sure this was a lot more profound and impactful for people who like lived through Vietnam, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah.
Also, I'm looking at the poster, the movie poster. It's like you never see movie posters like this where it's like about Sylvester Stallone. Like the top just says Stallone, and it goes, this time he's fighting for his life. Where it's like referencing Sylvester Stallone instead of the movie, where it's like, all right, you know him from Rocky. This time he's fighting for his life. And it's like, you never see it on a movie poster today.
yeah, I mean, true. I mean, they definitely bill the top star, but I guess yeah, if you're reading that under
No,
the
I'm saying you would
guise-
have his name, but you would never have like a tagline that's like about the actor, I feel like.
yeah, because like he was definitely fighting
Yeah.
for his life in Vietnam and shit too. So you're right.
Yeah, I think that's a reference to Rocky.
Yeah,
where
that's
it's
what I'm
this time
saying.
he's
Yeah,
fighting
like
for his life.
it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
a reference to John Rambo from before who served.
Right.
You're probably
because
right.
it's the first one. Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right. Hey, let's take a quick break here because I want to talk about JP Graziano. Listen, I've been saying it all week. You guys know about this golf tournament going on. Go check it out. Go follow JP Graziano on Twitter and Instagram. Get all the details. Buy some merch. He got some great merch. I'm looking at some hats right now, some polos, some quarter zips, hoodies, T-shirts. He's got it all. Go check that out, jpgraziano.com. He's got the merch, obviously, and there you could find a nice Mr. G, a nice muffaletta sandwich. You could find it all. Great prizes there. Closest to pin, low score, hole-in-one challenge. You could win a JPG for life, which is pretty unbelievable, pretty loose there, man. You just anytime you walk by, you want a cannoli, or I don't know how the deal's going to go, but I'm sure Jim is going to have anything you want for winning that contest. So go check that out. jpgraziano.com or go to tasterulchicago.com. Buy a beef kit. It's beef season. Memorial Day it's coming up, folks. It's coming up. Easter's over, so grab your tasterulchicago.com beef kit. Go check out the details to the JPG Jardinera Open and grab some merch, grab some peppers, and have yourself a nice JP Graziano spring/coming summer. So, all right, there you have it. Let's hop back into the episode. As far as anything else, I mean, the ending scene, you know, got crazy. You know, we could talk about the woods forever, and then the ending scene where he's just shooting out all the power voltages, and he comes toe-to-toe with Dennehy, and then he just gives himself up. And that was his lieutenant or whoever that guy was like, yeah, we'll send you back to Fort Bragg. And that's kind of how the movie ends. Did you like the ending, John Rich?
One thing where they started to kind of lose me was before that, I guess, when he just started blowing up the entire town. When the car, well, why didn't he just try to get away? It got to a point where he's just doing destruction instead of just trying to survive. Unless like I was missing like a reason he had to like just like blow up a gas station and just start like lighting everything on fire. Like that was one part I was kind of like, okay, I don't really understand why he's doing this. I guess the answer is just like really troubled Vietnam War vet. Like he's like back in it and just kind of defaulted to war mode. I guess. But I don't know. That was like my only kind of critique with like how it all wrapped up. I felt like he could have just got out of town.
Yeah, that was when I mean, that's when I was rooting for him a little bit less. I was definitely rooting for him in the woods. And then when he started to like blow up like the gas stations and like the small stores, like, okay, I think I'm still on your side, Rambo, but like maybe you don't have to do that. Like maybe we could
Yeah.
maybe you could just like get a car and drive away. Like I know you're doing your thing. But yeah, I think he just like snapped and was like, now I'm in war mode.
Yeah.
And or it was like almost revenge against like I think it was like revenge against the cop. Like, I'm going to destroy your fucking town.
I just picture Tommy Smoke sitting there with his dad with his arms crossed, being like, I can't believe all the public property they're just damaging.
Yeah. This town, they're going to be getting taxed out the wazoo to get all this money back.
Yeah. You know how long they're going to be without power? ComEd's going to have a fucking a nightmare on their hands.
We haven't mentioned him. I did really like the general character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the lines my dad hit where he like said it over it, where it's like, God didn't create Rambo. I did. Like he was a great character. I felt like I don't know what happens in the rest of the series, but I would love to see a Rambo movie, which I'm sure they've made, where it's like him getting trained by him in the Green Berets.
Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah.
Which probably exists.
Yeah, which is funny. People are probably screaming at us right now, be like, yes, you idiots. Just keep watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Well, that was one thing I was wondering, because there's obviously all these Rambo movies, and based on everything he did to that town and he went to jail, I was like, well, he's not going to get out of jail. Like he's in life for prison, correct? But so I don't know, like maybe he escapes. Like maybe there are prequels. Again, I don't know.
Right. I mean, I'm just going to look through them now. Rambo First Blood Part 2. Rambo returned to the jungles of Vietnam on a mission to infiltrate an enemy base camp and rescue the prisoners of war still held captive there. So it sounds like maybe they get him out of jail for this one last mission.
I'm into that.
Rambo 3. Rambo mounts a one-man mission to rescue his friend Colonel Troutman from the clutches of the former invading Soviet forces in Afghanistan.
Oh, damn.
All right, Vietnam.
Troutman's the guy, right? That's the...
Yeah,
Yeah,
Troutman is the guy.
Yeah.
Correct.
And then we go to Rambo. This one just says, is it just Rambo? Is there, how many fucking Rambos are there?
There's like 6, dude.
TV. Then there's a fourth in 08 that's just called Rambo.
Okay.
He's in Thailand here, joins a group of mercenaries, rescue a group of Christian aid workers. And then we have Rambo Last Blood, which just came out in 2019. Jesus, he looks so old in it. He confronts his past and unearths ruthless combat skills to exact revenge in a final message. We got 5 Rambos.
Well, that's what I was going to say, too, because I like to read up and do some digging on movies afterwards. And apparently in the movie, or in the book, it was a book beforehand, and he either dies or he kills himself. Or there was many script rewrites, and in like the main one, they wanted him to have him kill himself at the end. And Stallone was like, I'm not, like, that's not happening. Because, listen, if you know Sylvester Stallone, he's going to milk that fucking cow. You know?
Yeah.
And that's what he did with Rocky, and that's what he did with Rambo, it seems. So he keeps himself alive and spins off 4 more movies of this franchise. It was also, it's an Inception. It was supposed to be 2.5, 3 hours long in the first cut, which I don't know what more they could have shown.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
It was already a little bit. Again, I told you there was a portion there I felt like it kind of like lost me a little bit, just because I was watching just like, one man doing action stuff for so long. I can't imagine it.
So long. He was like upset, and he told his agent, he's like, I think my career's done. Like he thought it was going to be horrible, and then they recut it, then it like took off. Also, a couple more little nuggets, I guess. They tried to get Pacino, Clint Eastwood, De Niro, and a bunch of other guys, Steve McQueen, to play Rambo before Stallone ended up making it happen, which is pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I guess he just wasn't as hot in the streets.
Maybe.
Yeah, but then
not.
that's weird, like how you brought up the poster earlier, how it's like kind of like centered around, like it seems like it was made specifically with Sylvester Stallone.
Right. Seems like he like made that himself. Like,
Yeah,
Rocky. Like, this time I'm in the jungle and I'm killing cops.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I read that too, though, John. It apparently wasn't like a development hell. Like they kept trying to make it. They kept trying to make it. They couldn't get it done. And then once they finally got Stallone to sign on, they like pushed it through. We're like, all right, now we're actually going to do it since we got a guy. So,
Okay.
Another fun fact, apparently the cutlery business went through the roof after this because of his knife scene.
My dad said he bought one.
No, really?
Yeah. He said he bought one of them, and like his friend bought one of those green jackets that Rambo was wearing, or some jacket. Like it was like, because when it came out, he was like 25 maybe. So he said like for that time, like it was a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
Did people also start trying to hunt with like a Rambo knife, like killing deer, like jumping out of trees, trying to hunt?
Yeah,
in that
wild
fashion?
boars.
Yeah.
That was great, dude. He just jumped off from the top rope and next thing you know, he's got a hunk of meat over his shoulder.
Somebody went out and did that. Like 100%. People were going out and trying to like jump out of trees onto animals because of Rambo.
Oh, definitely. No doubt about it. And I believe, one of the other thing, in his knife, when he just had the stitches in the other half. Do you remember that part?
What part?
When he cut his arm. And
oh yeah, I was like, how did he stitch himself? What was he using to stitch himself up?
He had stitches in the handle of the knife. He just popped it open like it was a pill bottle.
People always stitch themselves up so easily in movies. People in movies know like exactly what to do when they get shot. They're just like, oh, let me bite my shirt and tie a knot here.
Yeah.
I do not have that skill in me. I got nothing.
No.
If I got shot, I would just sit there and cry until I died. And that would be that.
I'll put pressure on it. I know you put pressure on it. But I'll be like, all right, it's going to put pressure on this, and hopefully somebody gets here before I die.
Yeah, the belt tourniquet. That's it. That's all I got. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I do disagree in that aspect, John Rich. 90 minutes. I thought it was short and easy. It went by in the blink of an eye. So I enjoyed it overall. Would you guys say that?
Yeah, it was an.
What is that?
Frank is dreaming about something.
Oh no.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was the question?
You enjoyed it, Tommy?
Yeah. It was an easy watch. It was basically what I expected, with the exception of I thought it would be at war instead of in Washington, but more or less what I expected. Easy watch. Not gonna go down as one of my favorite movies of all time, but enjoyable nonetheless.
John Rich?
Yeah, no, I agree. It again wasn't exactly what I expected. I loved the first half of it. Again, I still think it was an easy watch, like all the way through. But I was very interested by the plot of it. That was kind of like the type of movie I had never seen before, like dealt with Vietnam War stuff. So kind of made me think about that, which is interesting. And yeah, like I definitely liked it overall. Again, it's not I couldn't say I'm like gonna go see the next Rambo quick. Although Tommy, now you brought it up, and he's actually going on like another war mission, that intrigues me a little bit more.
Yeah, I do kind of want to see how he gets out, like what the aftermath of that Rambo 1 is.
Yeah, so it sounds like the rest of the movies are he's maybe like working for the government in some sense, which that actually does intrigue me a little bit more. I'm glad he gets out of the United States. I don't know if I'd want to watch him like escape from jail in Washington and then go fight that same cop again in like the same manner. But
yeah, so I guess that's a good question here, because we'll do the Rotten Tomatoes here in a second, but before, are you guys going to watch First Blood too? Like, is this going to be something you plan to do?
Kind of feels like a weird that they called it Rambo First Blood Part 2 instead of just Rambo Second Blood.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, well, it's no longer First Blood. It also never really was his first blood. If he like was in Vietnam killing.
Well, he does say at one point they drew first.
Yes.
I think that must be what it's named after.
First Blood Part. Yeah, you're right. That maybe it makes sense when you watch it. The title doesn't totally seem to follow.
Maybe I'll watch First Blood Part 2.
I'll watch it. I'm not against it at all.
I'm not against it, but I don't know the setting. Or like I don't know what part of my life I'll find myself being like, all right, time to sit down and watch Rambo 2. Like, I don't know how if that will happen.
Yeah.
If it pops up on like a Netflix or Hulu and I'm looking through, I'd throw it on.
I think so too. That's a good point, John. And I like that the fact that's kind of mindless. Like I could,
Right.
I could look down and send a text in 15 seconds, like, oh, I just missed him, like creeping around, like preying on a victim. You know what I mean? Like that's all you miss.
Wasn't a rapist, Eddie.
Well, that's not a victim, an enemy. Apologies to the troops, John Rambo, Mr. John Rambo. I apologize. As soon as I said that, I knew it came out wrong. All right, so we'll wrap with this. This is what we did with the taxi driver. The audience score was an 85%. Is that too high, too low, or just right? And before you say it, Tommy, I did find out that that's not an overall score. I guess that's the percentage of people who said they liked it, which I never knew Rotten Tomatoes went off of that.
Oh, I didn't realize that either.
But I'm just going to keep in my head the way that everyone thinks it is. And I'm going to say 85%, Tommy. Too high, too low, or just right?
So if I'm viewing it as a rating as 85 out of 100,
yes, correct.
That feels a little high. But if I'm viewing it as like 85% of people liked it, that feels almost low. Like I can't imagine someone watching that and not liking it. Like if you're watching it, I mean, yeah, if you're someone who hates action movies, if you're like a girly girl or something, like you're probably not going to watch that. But if you're sitting down, not to be, so 1950s, but like if you're sitting down to watch Rambo, not against your will, I feel like you're going to like it.
Mm-hmm. So 85% though, as just a score is too high though, you think?
Yeah, maybe like an 80.
80? Okay, so it gets in the 80s.
It's right there.
Okay. John?
You know what? I'll say an 85 feels right even.
Oh, okay, Tom.
Yeah. I'd go a little lower. I think to be like in the 80s, and again, everybody has their own like personal scale. I think of a movie in the 80s as one, like the next day I'm like probably thinking a lot about it. I don't know, it just grabs me a little bit more. I felt like it didn't like quite reach an 80 for me, but I mean, it might be like right at like 78, 79 if I was going to rate it. Just, I don't know. I felt like it needed a little something else for me to put it in whatever this made up system I have in my head of movie rankings is.
Yeah, I will say I'm coming at it from a standpoint of they call me Tommy Historical Context Smokes. So I feel like if I'm taking the historical context into play and I was in 1982 or whenever when this came out, I would say an 85 or higher would feel right. I think, yeah, looking back, we've seen, action movies with effects and stuff that blow this out of the water. But given like where the world was at the time, I understand why it is considered a classic.
Yeah, and listen, if you listen to both this and the Taxi Driver one, I said the same thing. If you judge it by what it meant to the time in the early 80s and what action was at before, but it's probably right on the money. I agree. I'm not gonna squabble too much with it, but obviously in modern days, like it's a little too high, and I think we're all on the same page with that. So it was really good. I would recommend people watch it, especially because it's so easy, and that's hard to find nowadays. Where like you just kind of want that mindless action, and not even as a big action guy, I liked it. So I thought it was. I would probably put it like that's a good range. I would say like 75 to like the 85 would be good with me. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right, boys. Thanks for doing this. This was just three masculine guys talking Rambo. So.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure nobody's gonna get annoyed and be like, "You pussies, you didn't appreciate it."
Yeah.
I'm sure
you see how many people he beat with his bare hands.
Yeah.
I'm sure the people who really love Rambo will have very rational takes on.
Yeah. But also
somewhat negative.
Yeah, but you know what though? I'll say this though, for the staying power of, like I said, for people being like, "What's up, Rambo?" Like
Yeah.
I give it more points for that because that's staying power. A movie that came out, how long ago? 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I feel like even in like pop culture, it's still like you said, take it easy, Rambo, or this guy's fucking Rambo over here, like something like that. Like it does, and maybe that's because they made 9 movies like as recently as 3 years ago. But yeah, it does definitely like Rambo. Even if you haven't seen the movie, like you know about Rambo.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. Like there's nobody who has not heard Rambo references, like Rambo knife. Probably heard a million Rambo references you didn't even know were Rambo references. So yeah, staying power wise, it's very good.
Yeah, staying power gets into the 8s for me alone. I got to retract that 75 range. I like
That is always I don't think that there were any in
So-
this movie, but it's always cool when like you hear a classic movie line and like you never know that that's what it stemmed from.
What's going
Yeah.
on, Pat? Hey, did you ever see the movie Rambo?
No. I thought
No?
I was something.
No. What's he doing?
Pat Bev?
Yeah.
Oh, Pat Bev, good to see you.
Tommy Smokes, John Rich. Oh no,
Tell him it's McLovin with swagger.
he's up to no good here. I don't know what Pat Bev's doing. He's griefing around here. He said, "I think I left something in here." He's never been in here. This guy's full of shit. I don't know. I'm like under attack, so I'm gonna wrap this up now. Thank you
Does he want
guys.
to say hi to Smokes?
Yeah, he didn't seem like he wanted to, Tommy. Unfortunately,
Interesting.
Weird.
that was great. All right, guys. Thank you. That was Talking Rambo. We'll do another one. We'll keep doing these if people like them. So thanks again, guys. That'll be it for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys on Monday.